All right, welcome back. It's now 27 minutes to 9. This is Morning Express, and we are on the final lap of the show this morning. And one of the things that has been hit hard by the prolonged political tension that we have had is the economy. And of course, many of us probably have their own story. But who better to also let us know what the statistics are and basically what we are faced by this prolonged electioneering period by members from different businesses, but under the cover of the Chamber of Commerce. And joining me in studio now, we have Wango Wawero, who's the CEO for Brand Africa Communications. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We also have Peter Leparashao, who's the CEO for Massmart. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Last but not least, we have Julius Opio, CEO for Little Legends. Thank you for joining us. Let me start with you, Peter. How are we doing in terms of the economy? I know that this is something that all Kenyans would say we have been hit hard, but possibly you have better statistics and you can give us literal examples of how good or how badly we're doing.
Mike, let me start by saying, first of all, thank you for having us. I don't know whether we are too late at the moment, but let me say this. We have been having a problem, a cyclic problem, every 5 years. Every time we have an election, we have a problem. And the biggest victims of normally this problem are the businesses. In fact, the effect of political unrest is felt even 2-3 months before the election itself. And it goes beyond the election. And I can tell you, we are losing today, on average, about 10 billion shillings every day.
10 billion?
Yes. And I'm talking of registered businesses. We are not talking now of informal businesses where we don't have data. This is unacceptable. We have become victims as business community of our political immaturity, if I may say that. And if you look at Nairobi, for example, Nairobi carries about 60% of our GDP. So every day we have demonstration in the city center. You are affecting about 60% of our economy. And I'm glad that the chambers brought us here together as business community. And what we are saying is this. We are not just business community. We are representing the majority silent Kenyans who are caught in between the two factions, political factions. So we are not just talking as business community, we are also talking on behalf of Kenyans who are voiceless, who are the victims of these suckers every 5 years. Let me tell you this. Small businesses normally take about 3 to 4 years to start breaking even. So in other words, we are caught in a cycle where you start a business, and by the 5th year, you are taken back so much. And I can tell you, we are out so many businesses. 207, I can tell you, for example, almost 70% of businesses in Kisumu closed. And they never reopen again.
All right, just to be clear,
yes.
And maybe I'll put this to you, Julius, is there any political side that you're supporting, or is the Chamber of Commerce, what are you saying?
At the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce, we're apolitical because we represent Kenyans who are running businesses in Kenya. We represent investors who have come and invested in Kenya. So we support all business people who are in Kenya. And what we're trying to bring out is that it's a high time that the business community also comes out strongly and takes a position, because we cannot have a situation whereby after every 4 years, businesses close down, shut down, because they cannot continue. You cannot have a 10-year plan or a 15-year plan, because every 5 years, we get caught up in this cycle. And we have quite a number of our members who also are sponsoring and setting up other businesses and mentoring the youth who are going into businesses. So we are here today to say that, fine, we're trying to come up with a movement whereby it will be political, non-political, non-aligned, but we want a situation whereby all Kenyans have a chance to participate in their activities without necessarily being interrupted because of politics. Now, what that calls for all of us is to take the initiative and step in and say, what can we do as individuals? The politicians have done their part, and I think now it's up to us to come up and say, yes, what role can we play in our own small ways? So I believe that if we all think differently and say, okay, fine, it's time for us to stand up and say, how do we make Kenya peaceful? What do we need to do on the 27th? moving forward.
All right.
Irrespective of irrespective of whether you decide to vote or not to vote. Yeah.
So, Wango, what's the how-to? What do we do? I mean, now here we are stuck. We are saying that politicians basically have put us where we are, yet Kenya is made of 42 million Kenyans. And quite honestly, all those 42 million Kenyans may have political interest, but at the end of the day, it's bread and butter on their table that they're interested in. So what's the solution?
I think, for me, the solution is, first of all, owning it. Kenyans need to own our situation. And secondly, Kenyans need to do something about it. And that's why we're here today. We have a lot of people. We've left our country to be run by a small minority of about 30,000 Kenyans who determine everything that's happening to us. Our businesses we haven't been running properly the whole year, really, because of elections. And Kenyans have sat back. We're sitting back and expecting the electoral rate to sort of sort us out, which is not right. So Kenyans need to own the situations. Kenyans need to stand up and say, no, like, we need to own our space. We need to say no to this madness. We need to say no. We need to stop being puppets of politicians. We need to just own the power. We are more powerful. That's why the Sisi wa Kenya initiative is just calling on Kenyans to, first of all, maintain peace. Secondly, just own this, say no. You see, if he says no, I say no, you say no, then we've sort of demystified the power that we give the politicians. Okay. So we need to own
all right.
space.
Maybe you can tell me a little bit about what you've mentioned, and that's Sisi wa Kenya. What is that all about? And how do we say no? Because at the end of the day, politicians or politics has made us believe that the struggle that we're going through right now is for the better of all Kenyans. And that may be true. But how we go about it possibly is the challenge that we have. But maybe let's start with, you've mentioned Sisi wa Kenya initiative. What is that all about?
I think I will let him to expound. But it's basically what Wango is saying. We are saying for a long, long time, the ordinary Kenyan, the business person, the sports person, the musicians we have here, we are quiet. We are quiet. And yet, a very few minorities, either politicians or people who have taken to the social media to propagate hate, division, are so loud and effective. Yet, they constitute maybe 1% of the entire country. Why are we silent, all of us? And yet, we are the biggest victims of this, this confusion going on. So we are saying, Sisi, as ordinary Kenyans, as business people, as CEOs of SMEs, as it's a big group, as sports people, communication personalities like you, let us come and give a narrative of peace, a narrative that we can exist as Kenyans without caring where you come from. And yet we are saying this, like even for the election, we are saying as Sisi wa Kenya, the people who have said no to election have a right, and we don't interfere with them. The people who have said yes, we'll go for the 40, have a right. But those rights are exclusive. So let us maintain peace, because ultimately what will happen, regardless of the outcome on 26, we'll all suffer the consequences. So I let my brother to proceed and expound a little bit of Sisi.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, the Sisi wa Kenya initiative has come up, especially from the business community. We have media personalities, we have sportsmen and women, musicians. They've all come together and said, okay, wait a minute. Now it's a time for us to take our space. And what they're saying, and what we're saying is, let's create one Kenya for all Kenyans and be peaceful, irrespective of whether you participate to vote or not to vote. And we respect one another from that perspective. And the thing is that after 26th, we also want to move on as a country. On the 27th, we'd like a situation whereby everyone goes back to work.
Regardless of whether the elections take place or not?
Regardless, yes. On 27th, we all go back to work. And we have institutions that will take care of the situation at that point in time. But the whole idea is we need to have the peace, maintain the peace as a country, and respect one another. So one group wants to vote, the other group does not want to vote. Yes, that's right. It's a democratic right. But let's respect one another whenever the two groups make that decision. So the initiative has come up, and I think I'll also allow Wango to expound on it, whereby we're saying tomorrow, Wednesday, And Thursday, wear a white T-shirt if you can, just to demonstrate that you're a peaceful person and you love your brother and sister, and we respect one another.
This is regardless of whether you're supporting the elections or no elections. It's basically just a peace movement.
It's a peace movement, yeah. And the peace movement is in your office. It can be in your home, in your neighborhood. Try and reach out to your brother and sister on the 26th, whether you vote or do not vote, and we move on with our lives. Okay. But we need to take that step forward, whether you're a business leader, if you're a sportsman, if you're a musician, if you're an artist, let's all come out as Kenyans and say, okay, fine, we've done our part. The politicians have done their part. They're divided. But for us as Kenyans, we should be united. All right.
Yeah. Wango, maybe to further expound on that.
Yeah.
We're basically saying we don't have another country that we're going to go to, whether before on 26, whether after. So we're saying let's do it together in one. I can exercise my opinions politically in a peaceful manner. So the calling on Kenyans to have the white T-shirt, or the white, whichever white you wear, is whether I'm voting, whether I'm not voting, wherever I'll be on 26th, to come out and just show that I am a peaceful Kenyan. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Leparasha, one of the things that somebody may raise is that this is coming a little too late, given that we already have this that has been going on. So one might ask, where was the Kenya Chamber of Commerce in all this? And secondly, is this just something about the 26th and 27th, and after that we go back to the cycle? Because like you mentioned in your opening remarks, it seems like it's something that comes up every 5 years. Are you intending to keep this going, or is this just a one-off?
Michael, for sure we intend to keep this going forever. Remember also in this country we have never had in-between elections. We are perpetually in a kind of campaign. So even after 26, after 27, you can rest assured there will be Kenyans who are literally back again to campaign for whatever reason. And this is the cycle we want to break. We are saying when elections must have an end, and then we have a peaceful period to build our country, to build our institutions and do all that. So we are saying this is not just a one-off thing. It's something we intend to structure and have it fully roll out immediately. And let me also add what my friends have said, that we don't intend to have march. We will not march on the streets. We will not do that. We are business people and we want to do businesses. But we are saying we will have a lot of footprint on the social media, because that's actually why we have been beaten by a few Kenyans who are very vocal, who have now literally, driving the narrative of the country. So we'll have a lot of social media representation, and we are already into it already. And that will help us also to change the narrative. And what we encourage people in the social media to do is express your opinion. There's nothing wrong with it. But be civil and also respect my opinion. You might not agree with them, but at least respect. If you have a different opinion, put it there. We will look at it. Whether you are right or wrong, then we now start developing a narrative for the country. I was watching yesterday, for example, Michael, the CEO of Brand Kenya, Mary, talking, and she's so worried because, remember, social media currently is almost controlling 80% of the news we are getting. It's everywhere, anytime. It's not like, the mainstream media where you are controlled and there are timings. So if we don't change the narrative on the social media, we will continue having this problem for a very long time. Now, is it too late? Probably yes. But we believe the impact will have, even if it's for 10,000 people, it's a difference. It was not there before. It's a big difference. Yeah. It's a starting point. So we might not achieve fully what we want, but we are saying from tomorrow onwards, as a sign of peace, just put on your white shirt, your white T-shirt, in your office, in your house, if you're a housewife, the house helps. Put on something white to show somebody that you are for this peace. We need this country after 26 and thereafter. And I believe, for sure, by 26, we'll have an impact, however small it is.
However small.
Yes.
Wango, the people that we blame for all this is the politicians. Yes. Do you intend to involve them or maybe interact with them or engage them? Because at the end of the day, they also have a voice which cannot be ignored.
Yes. We don't plan to involve them. We hope they talk to us. We hope they join the conversation and join us in what we're doing. That's how we want to do. We want to show Kenyans that it's up to me, it's up to you. They say bad things happen when good people don't take action. So I have taken my step, I've taken my action. My urge too is to every other person to take their step and their action towards making Kenya more peaceful, watching out for our country, for our children, just making sure we are in an amicable space and we don't have to worry so much, you know. So we hope they join us. We hope they come out and say, even them, they join the Sisiba Kenya movement. Yes.
All right. Opio, now you'll agree with me that when it comes to the business environment, you'll not find people interacting on a tribal plane. In other words, if I'm buying a shirt from you, I'll not first of all ask you, what's your name? If I like the shirt, I'll pay you the money, and that happens. Yeah. But when it comes to politics, we become very polarized. But that ultimately affects business at the end of the day, especially when we come to this electioneering cycle. What solutions do you see or do you have so that that same spirit that we have in the business space, where we're not asking each other names simply to interact, can be continued even when we get to the electioneering cycle? You vote or not vote, you go and vote or stay home or whatever, but allow me to continue with my business.
Yeah. Actually, the chamber has been on the forefront. We've actually been very active, engaging all institutions, the government, and trying to see how our members can continue with their businesses. But what we are now asking members to do is to come out and take that initiative as an individual and see how you can provide direction in your small community. So if you're a chairman in an association in the estate, if in your home, in your office, in schools, if you're a teacher, you can take that leadership position. So we can all be leaders in our small way, in wherever place that we work. Now, one thing you'd realize when it comes to the economy, there's no economy for Jubilee or economy for NASA. There's only one economy, the Kenyan economy. If there's interest rate capping, it is one interest rate capping. If the prices go up, it is one price. So at the end of the day, from an economic perspective, we are all affected equally. And when it comes to business, we are also hit hard in the same way. Currently, if you look at the various sectors in business, whether it's hospitality, manufacturing, agriculture, real estate, we've all taken a hit. So what we are trying to do now is to say, how do we come out as business people to ensure that this does not happen going forward? After 26th, I'm sure we're going to have our elections. On 27th, we need to have people going back to work. But also in the long term, we'll need to have a conversation going on with the business community to see how can we have a situation whereby elections can run and businesses are not affected every 5 years. And that's a discussion maybe we can have in another forum and see how do you go about it. Okay. There are very many ideas that have come up, like should we have a direct, we look at the various democracies around the world and see how do we improve from where we are today. Because if South Africa has a different democratic system where MPs choose their president, the electorate they elect the MPs and the MPs choose the president. We've taken the American model or the British model. So we as Kenyans, we need to look back and ask ourselves, what works for us and how can we improve our system in a way that when we have an election cycle or period, other parts of the society continue. So we're looking at education should continue. Schools should not close down because of elections. Businesses should not close because of elections. But the whole economy should be able to run. All right. Yeah.
Wango, we are running out of time. Closing comments and possibly what you'd like Kenyans to know from you. What message are you sending across?
We're sending the message of peace to all Kenyans. We're sending a message of love. We are asking Kenyans to love each other regardless of our political affiliations. We're asking Kenyans to, whether I vote, whether you don't vote, to just run, to love Kenya. I mean, that's my message. Let's love Kenya. Let's love ourselves more than we love others. Then that way, we'll be able to watch out for our country. Yes. All right.
Leparashao, closing comments?
Mine is very simple. We want to see a country where politics and commerce and security complement each other. It's not one working against the other. And every time we think about business, it's the business people who are literally carrying the country. We are the taxpayers. And unfortunately, for a very long time, we have never had a voice. This is the time for us to have a voice to help rebuild the country, to bring people together, not apart. And I urge all Kenyans, on 26, whether you decide to vote or not, the other person also has a right. So let us do it peacefully. Vote if you want to vote and go home. If you don't want to vote, my advice is stay at home. If you are not voting, where are you going? So that at least we don't want on 27 to wake up into chaos. We want to wake up and open shops and do business because that's why we are.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That's Peter Leparashao, CEO for Massmart, Julius Opio, who's the CEO for Little Legends, and Wango Waweru, who's the CEO for Brand Africa, basically under the Chamber of Commerce, saying one Kenya. And all we're talking about here is peace. I believe the hashtag is Sisi wa Kenya that you're running,
yes.
From the brief that I got. And well, this is where we wind up the show. And Michelle now joins us. And we're PN in Kenya.
We're in Kenya, and great conversation. You know, many times you're asked as media whether we probe the authenticity of the business communities or the business people that we interview. So yeah, it's good to say we have probed the the integrity of these business people, and they are the real business people of Nairobi. But a great conversation there, Michael. That's what brings us to a close here on Morning Express this morning. Many thanks for watching. See you again tomorrow, same time, same place. But remember to keep it KTN News. Top stories we're following for you today. Just hours the historic repeat presidential election. Still tensions as to whether the courts will rule to perhaps postpone this election. But today, the High Court will be ruling on whether to compel opposition leader Raila Odinga to participate in this election, considering his name is already in the ballot. This, even as the opposition NASA continues with their nationwide protests today. More details on this right here on KTN News, where you get the whole story. Good morning.
Thank you very much, and do have yourselves a wonderful day. God bless.